several hours ago, I thought about this story, a short story actually. It's a true story, by the way. And it happens like 7-8 years ago in this e-commerce company where, they want to solve the problems that the content creators in the company have. Like they have a lot of manual activities where it's about content writing, analysis of the content, online shopping, dealing with content regarding the products. So the team like works on this, let's say, solution, and after a year or two, they are building this fancy interface, and it's like, okay, it's really helping the content writers, but after some time, actually, some of the engineers wake up and say, "But guys, we're not solving the core problem. Actually, can we do something about automating the processes? Because this is a manual creation of content and manual analysis of text that requires cognitive skills a lot. So is it possible to solve this?" So this is, imagine, I'm going to repeat, this is happening 7 or 8 years ago. So in a world where there are lots of NLP techniques, libraries, and you have to treat every problem like summarization, text generation, like a separate thing. So they actually built several proof of concepts, and but the team and the company is not very satisfied with this because anyway, they're going to have to maintain it a lot. The quality of the generated stuff and on the classified stuff is not that performant. And then comes after, let's say, 2 years later of development comes the first, I would say, the first really cool generative models, sorry, from this perspective, they're not large language models, but they are actually tiny. So from that perspective, they were large, actually, several millions of parameters. And I remember GPT-2, for example, it was quite a good model. So they made another proof of concept, and this time it works because the quality of the generated stuff is quite satisfying. It's much better even than the manual creation. But there is a catch again. So whenever they feel like the model is underperforming, there is a drift after some time, they need to retrain it again. It's a good thing that the company has historical data at their disposal, but it's like a huge burden. You cannot predict when the next model or which of the next versions of the model will be more performant or not. And after several years from that, this really performant general purpose generative models appear with that are very large even from this perspective. And I'm going to stop the story at this moment and let you guys finish the story. What do you feel if you imagine that you're in let's say, a role of maybe engineer, maybe a stakeholder in the e-commerce business or in any kind of business? Because what we are saying right now can be applied not just to e-commerce, but to many other business areas and domains. What will you do with this in terms of the current state of the Gen AI in business? Like, you have hype, you have skepticism on the other side, and let's say if you're an engineer, maybe Tamara, you will pick up to be a researcher. How will you position to this change? Will you embrace it completely or ditch it like it's really risky technology? Who wants to be the first one? This is a tricky question, but sorry I didn't communicate this with you, but funny story. It's still an ongoing story, at least for me, but I want to hear how you guys feel.
Yes, so definitely there are two sides of the story. The first side is a development story, the development team depends on when I was part of a development team, and the things that or ideas that we've been passionate about, we've always pushed and argumented with management that we must do the right things and deliver the things. Although there is always a conflict because sometimes there is not budget, there's other constraints. So the other side, taking the role on the management side, yeah, you always have to listen to your development team and also to take the risks. That's the thing about it. Because yes, there is a hype, but there is a critical thinking, and when you're a decision maker in in role of a manager, or what kind of a stakeholder role do you have? I think that, and I strongly believe actually that the companies that will survive in this segment of fourth, let's say, fourth segment of industrial revolution, they have to take the risk or to be aligned with the needs of the market and to take seriously the initiatives from their development team.
Okay, that's like a general, opinion. I had to be honest, conflicts in this conflicted opinions in this for this matter, but I think there is a catch here, because everybody look, as engineers we are really how can I say cautious. I mean, not every engineer is cautious, but in general we are cautious. Okay, if there is a new technology coming, we need to research it first. I think Tamara will agree on this, right? I cannot immediately adopt it, right? But also after careful research, sometimes there is a disappointment. And I think that the research phase needs to be done properly, because even with this prompting and stuff that conversational stuff that these generative models of this late generation are offering us, I think that they will just create an illusion that they are first all powerful, and then there is a disappointment they are not that powerful when we are employing them into the business. We are plugging them to solve some business solution, let's say, so some business problem actually. And if there is a disappointment, there is probably a complete ditching of this possibility and not giving it a chance to treat it appropriately. For example, there are a lot of prompt engineering techniques that maybe they're not exploited yet, but everybody thought that at that moment, okay, we're not going to have these large development teams, we're going to just naturally converse with the models and they will solve everything for us. And actually there is a disappointment at the end of the day. Tamara, what do you think about these things in terms of research?
Well, when it comes to research side of things, from that point of view, the research and development is always a high risk, high gain game. Most of the time, research will not bring the results that everyone expects, but when it does, it usually brings a lot more benefit towards the organizations that started and invested with time into it. My opinion in general on this topic is that the companies that invested early, now we are talking about AI and Gen AI, but in general in R&D, are always most of the time, like if you take into account like the congregation, it always goes towards the side that they did a good job, and then when things go in the right direction, so for example, like in AI and Gen AI nowadays, what we are facing today, these companies that invested early it will be harder for other companies that started later to pace up, to bring their companies to the same pace and get to the same level. So my opinion here is that it really depends how companies are structuring their research and development efforts, and it really depends by the sectors and industries how much and in which moment they should invest their efforts. There is no one solution and one formula for all of these different things on the spectrum, but it really is about a hunch at the end of the day, and about a behavior that a company has or doesn't have. So that would be my opinion on this.
Yeah, thank you about that. There's a definitely gray area here that we are talking about. I just want to mention one thing regarding when we see, usually during this conversation, we're going to exploit this terminology, companies. So there are different types of companies. In this case, we are talking about the end consumer companies, because if I can maybe categorize these companies into maybe 2-3 even categories, and we're going to talking about, we probably would have mentioned first the cloud model providers, MLOps platform providers, for example, that fall into this first category of basically the core technology that is being developed there. And there's this probably class or category of companies that are utilizing the stuff that is built, the tools that are built, and the assets that are built in the first one, and that's actually the software development companies that are taking advantage and understanding how, let's say, for this occasion, GenAI works, and provide solutions to this third category, let's say, of companies, which are the end consumers. So Intertech, for example, falls into the second category, even though it tries to go into the first one, but it's probably still too early. But anyway, what happened, one side effect actually of first months after, let's say, I want to call this as a point of rupture, honestly, November 2022, when Da Vinci appeared and the other models of OpenAI appeared wrapped around ChatGPT. So they're like, everybody thought, okay, we can basically maybe skip this company solution, software development solution providers, and maybe go to this first category directly. We can just handle the models. We can just buy their APIs and do the effective prompting, but it's not what actually history showed that can be effective. So in terms of, because I mentioned prices right now, in terms of that, a simple question, maybe Alexander, you are the most fit person to elaborate on this one. A simple question, let's say, does adopting GenAI pay off for this third category of companies that I mentioned?
Well, definitely.
Either migration, listen, I'm just talking about maybe they have this traditional way of machine learning solutions before in terms of migration of the actual solutions, or actually adopting from scratch. So you can answer it in both ways.
Yeah, so depends on the stage that the company is at. I mean, regarding KML, but definitely all kinds of companies, most of those that don't have specific department or are not involved at all, they should be aware, and it's up to the leaders there to be aligned with what's happening on a larger spectrum. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz and all kind of things regarding the topic, but definitely it should be on the radar, and just to know when and how to incorporate that in a company strategy, and to actually to put it into production, because otherwise it will, there will be some clients that slowly will fade off from the radar if the company doesn't follow the trend. There are some let's say standard or classic business models or companies that don't deal or is not a core, let's say, this kind of development, but also they should try to leverage from this this AI revolution at the moment, and to see how things can be automated or made more productive in any sense. That's why I'm talking generally at the moment.
Yeah, okay. There are risk factors, as also Tamara mentioned, but what I can say is that I think there was a kind of like a gap between this hype that was at the beginning. I know we witnessed, of course, we were following the Gartner hype cycle of GenAI and AI. I mean, in general, and GenAI was positioned very at the peak of expectations, but although personally I don't like that, I cannot take it for granted. Sorry about this if you don't agree with me. But the thing is that after that point, I saw a lot of companies reducing the stuff. I'm talking about around the second category of software solution provider companies that are basing their solutions on GenAI, for example, and they wanted to switch to traditional, let's say, machine learning stuff to Gen AI because it's more understandable for them, and they reduce the amount of stuff which worked on those projects. So I saw a lot of machine learning engineers, developers getting ditched, for example. And then after 5 or 6 months, okay, we made a mistake. We need again to get them back. And there is again, I think, a slow pace of hiring back those people because they learned that okay, we cannot deal with prompts as we thought we can. So again, you need analysis of the data. Again, you need some P techniques. Again, you need. Again, I must say you need MLOps, for example, for this purpose, because a lot of those providers, MLOps platforms, basically switched from model handling, model versioning, model deployment to prompt as a model technique, let's say, or strategy. So they quickly adjusted to it, and now they saw an opportunity to be exploited, and afterwards it all started rolling again. Do you agree with this, Tamara, or you're saying that there is another
Well,
story?
I understand what happened now with the Gen AI and AI because it actually happened. If we zoom out a little bit, when the whole buzz around deep learning happened, it had the same let's say dynamic. First, they thought that it was all powerful, and then that many things could be changed there, and then they discovered people realize that they actually need people, and then they employ them back. And so this is something which is like a whole cycle of things that happen when something emerges. It does make some big buzz and big promises, and then things start to unveil and unwrap, and then we digest them better, and then we adapt towards the new situation. I think that this happens because there are potential pitfalls when we talk about new technologies, and in this particular situation, if AI and adopting AI, investing in AI pays off, which are the high upfront cost, the risks of many failed projects and stuff like that. But this is the trade-off that I mentioned even at the beginning. There is always on the bright side a lot of potential for improved efficiency. Now it's not even a promise, it's something which we can see that it is happening on different levels in companies. It doesn't matter in any, it happens in each of these three categories that you mentioned, but the improved efficiency in terms of time savings when things get automated, like also Alexander mentioned, but also better and enhanced decision making, and of course improving the services that any company has, like personalization, better effectiveness and efficiency of employees and stuff like that. So I think that every new challenge, we as humans embrace it in the same mechanism. But I think that regarding the topic that we are discussing today, we are already much more, let's say, positive towards, and we are very eager to accept, and we are aware that if we don't go towards embracing this into our daily processes, sometimes we will not go out of the equation, but we will not be as efficient and effective as we could be.
Yeah, no, I just thought of a question now. Since you mentioned integration, I mean, so I also witnessed a challenge of the engineering teams when, for example, okay, in the past we had hard time to integrate, let's say, data scientists into the team workflow. Let's say they're practicing, they're following Agile, Scrum methodology, stuff like that, because with traditional machine learning, it's really hard to estimate the tasks. You have to agree with this, right? So now with Gen AI, is this happening on the same level or on a different level? What do you think? I will let you know my answer afterwards. I want to just know how you think about this. Do you have different experiences?
Well, I think it really depends in which percentage these tools are being used. Regarding the whole agile cycle and development, we have been implementing several tools into our process of development, and I think it's really important to be careful until which point we address AI and we are supported by it. So I think that it's always about making this trade-off. So I think that the efficiency of any type of professional inside the agile process can be enhanced with these different tools.
Yeah, I would just add, I definitely agree with you, Tamar, but I would like to add that it's not a silver bullet, that yeah, we have these tools and it will solve it. Again, it's another tool in my eyes. Yeah, there is lots of buzz. There are also different reviews, different material that's present on the internet, and that can be leading or misleading, depends how we interpret that, but definitely it's a critical thinking to the decision maker. That's the most important thing. What kind of tool and what do we want to achieve? And how do we implement that tool? Is it in the in development process? Is it something that we want to do and let's say deploy on production, or we just want to play a bit on our sales and marketing strategy? And there are a lot of tools that can be useful in that direction.
Yeah, I have to say that I somewhat agree with you. Why? Because I'm witnessing actually the same process going all over again, repeating a bit. So maybe in the teams I've been, because in Intertech we have several teams that are tackling this issue, and I think this challenge actually of estimating the task beforehand, and when you have a roadmap, you don't even know. In the past, you couldn't have known whether you will need, I don't know, what kind of, kind of number of training iterations for some models. Now, I don't know how much period it will take for something to be released, and now you have the same only in the form of prompts. So how many versions of prompts I would have to test in order to find the right one? So you need again to test it, thoroughly towards balanced data sets, and then this whole thing, it kind of like repeats, but in a different wrap, to be honest.
Yeah, the thing is that, sorry for interrupting. The thing is the whole area is pretty young on this scale. Because if you look like 3 years ago, like scoping review for AI in e-commerce, you will read completely different things after the revolution that came after releasing and public attention that got ChatGPT.
Yeah, but only in the first period. Then afterwards, it all came back to
the ground. Because if you have experience, then you will know how to estimate about the prompts and about the tools, and it's the same situation. But the tools and the settlement is different. Mindset it's pretty.
Yeah, the mindset is the same. You again need engineers who know this, and of course, in this case, I heard another opinion. I was talking to some managers that they thought, okay, you need maybe subject matter experts to collaborate on this with the engineers. So yes and no, I would say. Yes, for example, because there is a thing that they are the experts and they know something that you don't know, but afterwards you are overcoming this, and so you can be basically let's say an expert in let's say prompt engineering for that particular domain, for e-commerce, let's say. So it's like you're building up on an experience on how to write prompts or how to engineer prompts. I hate this word engineer, but I was also not a big fan of prompt engineering. Now I came to appreciate it more, to be honest. And I think that that's on the long run, it will happen that maybe some positions that are related to being an expert in a particular domain for prompt engineering will start to appear. And actually, they're starting to appear. I'm witnessing all over the place on the internet, even though I've never worked with such a person, let's say, that has this title, but you never know.
I think it's important to stress out here that it's really about how responsibly we are using all of these tools. Now they're AI, Gen AI, but it really comes back, even if we zoom out, we can talk about technology in general. So it's really about not being a passive user, but an active co-creator with technology, and in this particular case with AI and Gen AI models. So I think it's important to note at this point that we have to be responsible in how much we depend on these tools. Of course, we can use them, but it's really how we position ourselves towards them, how much how much we will trust them completely and stuff like that. So basically that's the idea, not just to passively use them, but also try and create with them all the time. And this is what is going towards this new profession that you mentioned, I think.
Can I try
Prompt engineering.
to paraphrase you, Tamara? Depends how much of our cognitive abilities we want to outsource, because it's about outsourcing the decision making, or who does something for us. Yeah, it's our decision, and as you said, responsibly using the tools.
Yeah, I just got one question here, but I'm going to rephrase it to be more relevant in this case. So what is the proper career path, or maybe do you need certifications for this phase of generative AI? What kind of role should the companies play in this case to help the engineers scale with the knowledge? What do you think from your perspective? Will you go some?
Yes, it's very, as you said, it's a very young area, new area, and definitely I think that people who are eager to learn, that those are the right ones. Because in my opinion, and I'm pretty much opinionated about this, certifications and things, I'm not going into that kind of administrative thinking, because for the new things, they have to be much more agile and to be, yeah, I would like faster time to the market than to play in terms of administration.
For example, here in Intertech we have this program. We supported the engineers. For example, AWS certifications can be get with our help, and we have a program that can speed up this process of learning. Actually, and there are several people that they have already taken this AWS ML specialty exam, which was considered to be one of the toughest, if not the toughest one that AWS provides. But now I'm going to just mention this, and I'm not going to mention anybody else, because AWS also just made two more recently, several months ago, exams regarding ML engineering and AI foundations, where they tackle use cases actually of generative AI, and maybe some of the use cases are already into the e-commerce business and other types of businesses. So they're basically helping the engineers to adapt to a certain domain, because there are questions that have these particular use cases and they need to solve it. So maybe it helps, although I'm not, let's say, a strong 100% supporter of that, because I think that in this area that we are involved in, hard work is more appreciated and passion is more appreciated than the knowledge. Of course, you have to have experience, but it is what it is.
Jump in, Dylan. I had a discussion with the executive from a software company, a larger software company, about the interview processes they are conducting. So there's two sides of the story. One of the questions that they're asking to the candidates is, do you use, let's say, ChatGPT for coding or for the interview? So depends how do you use it, because definitely, if you can write code like 10 times faster, but you need to know what you want to do and how to do it.
Yeah, that's for personal usage we're talking about,
Yeah.
yes. Like assistant in this case.
Yeah, like for an assistant. And the question is then if the candidate is using if it's using those kind of tools, uh, yeah, to which extent and how, what is the procedure, how it's he or she using in everyday
It's
work.
already happening. I mean, we cannot stop it.
The other side of the story is that I've been witnessing some testing that's going online for some of the candidates that nothing is allowed. So you should just do some testing, and that's not the real thing. That's not the real value of a person that you're employing and that expects to deliver. So
Yeah.
there are two sides of that kind of story. It's again business related, and I think it's pretty much relevant to the certification.
Yeah, I think that I also somewhat agree with you. Yeah, you're right. You have made a point there. But sadly, guys, I've been given the power to actually conclude this conversation. I would really like for us to spend even more time to discuss. However, we have a constraint in terms of time. Can we just quickly wrap up? Let's say, what do you expect in the upcoming period? For example, perspectives where Gen AI is heading in business overall, doesn't need to be e-commerce. What do you expect in terms of technology, in terms of concepts, in terms of adoption?
Yeah, what we're seeing now is just the top because top of the iceberg because we're just discussing the LLMs and there are all kind of different segments of AI or ML. Let's speak. We just touch base and discuss here and there at some point. But definitely, what we can see from the latest reviews, the trends from the biggest economies and the countries that are mostly investing in, let's say, e-commerce, those are India, China, and US. And the interesting trend is that special accent is put on semantic analysis and again convolutional neural networks. So those are things that I think in near future are going to be much more exploited in getting recommendation, better suggestions for the clients, and in that segment for sure.
I think we have a question here. Okay, I'm just gonna have to probably read it. So in terms of prompt engineering, this is a comment. I do not think so. I've been working as a prompt engineer for current projects in my company, and AI needs to improve quite a lot to get to that point. It does need a human to review the result indeed. It cannot work by itself. So the path for us is to learn how to properly use this new tool.
Yeah, this is regarding a previous question that was there. If junior or entry-level people, in data scientists specifically, should worry about their future, that AI can fully take their job. And this was, I was going to go back towards this point so that I can give my conclusion, let's say, or outro from this webinar. And that's that
we can manage it, of course.
There are different people that are discussing how this whole adoption of AI and Gen AI is going to happen. And I think that I'm going to go again on responsible usage of AI models, and additionally of understanding how we can cooperate with these tools based on the AI in the future. If we can just delegate our jobs or tasks, some tasks can be delegated. For some, we have to go back and forward in several loops. So we have to cooperate with the AI tools. Sometimes we have to do the things ourselves, as Alexander mentioned in the previous topic, and some things can definitely be fully automated by AI. So I think it's important to understand that there is a high potential, but we have to be aware and responsible how we are using these tools and decide in each situation how we are going to go towards them. So I think that it goes for every person and company to decide in which direction they are going to go into this cooperation with AI, like delegation, cooperation, fully human or fully AI. So the point here that I wanted to make is that they should not worry about the future because we are still far from it. And I agree with the comment that we are still needed in the whole equation for most of the things. There are, of course, things that can be fully automated by AI, but we are still far from there. And regarding of what expects us in the future, I think it's going to be a whole lot more and bigger discussion regarding the ethical and regulatory frameworks for shaping AI.
That's a topic I hate, but okay.
I know, but the future is interdisciplinary, and I think it's really important to understand that tech and AI in this specific case are just like a very powerful tool in the whole discussion. But the problems and the problem generator sciences and topics are going to come from different directions. So I think that the future is interdisciplinary, and we have to face that. We're going to have to cooperate between each other and understand, regulate, and better position this potential and realize basically this whole potential that can be out there in the future.
Yeah, thanks for the elaboration. That was a good question, even though I don't fully agree with that. I mean, it's not a question; it's an opinion, let's say. But I have to disagree up to some point with this because I still believe that prompt engineering as a technique is not fully exploited. Now we have a whole science between this. So if we thought about prompt engineering like 2 years ago, maybe it would have been okay, nothing. I mean, it's nothing you can do. Now you can actually. I witnessed. I'm actually doing the same thing, and I'm trying to fully exploit it before I go to fine tuning, let's say, or before I go to training models. Another thing that you can exploit, and it's like let's say a consequence of Gen AI on this later stage of Gen AI is retrieval augmented generation. Now, if you can actually ground the models or prevent hallucination of the models with prompting, then you can always go to RAG. For example, I wrote this book recently, probably it's already released on LinkedIn, where I explain a lot of RAG use cases and how that can be exploited actually in these scenarios, in various scenarios. So I think we have a lot of capabilities to overcome the limitations of these models. And we never said anything about the computer vision models, or we're just referring with our mindset only to the language models. But anyway, those techniques can be applied there as well. So that's my opinion. Maybe who knows what we're gonna see? Maybe as a technology. For example, maybe there will be something else besides RAG that will appear, let's say. Who knows? The technology is changing in the fast pace. So actually we have to, guys.
Definitely not. Definitely not only technologies, but there are also techniques that are not exploited fully.
Yeah,
Because we are seeing we were discussing merely LLMs and like tools for prediction, right? But we can discuss those also LLMs in a context of like other techniques like zero-shot classification or those kind of other techniques. So there's plenty of things in the area to be investigated in detail.
At the end, just I want to encourage all the businesses not to, I mean, to at least try to research a bit with generative AI and see the potentials of adoptions in their business, because I think at the end it will pay off, of course, depending on the budget, but that will be my actually my advice to them. And of course, for the audience, we will try to answer the rest of the questions if there are any, because we don't have time at the moment. And please connect us with all three of us on personal level, and of course with Intertech. And finally, stay tuned for the next edition of Intertech webinar. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.